Welcome back to the Accel Advantage podcast, where we discuss insurance and financial services for our business leaders. I'm your host, Krueger, partner and president of our property casualty division here at the Accel Group. Today, I have two very special guests with me, Stacie and Michele Krueger. Many of you may remember Stacie from one of our past podcasts where she talked about our brand new pooled employer 401k plan. Today, she is joined by Michele Krueger. Michele is one of our top individual wealth advisors here at Accel. And today they're going to spend some time talking through some real life scenarios where we may experience some financial setbacks. So obviously we could take this in a number of directions, but today we're going to focus on just a couple: divorce and the death of a spouse. Two very, very light topics. All kidding aside, I think we all know someone or have personally been affected by these two life events. So the topic needs to be discussed and thought through once that dust settles, and simply you may just need to move forward. So with that, let's get to know our guests today. Michele and Stacie, welcome to our podcast. Before we dive in, I'm going to have you share a little bit about your background, if you would.
Thank you, Corey. I have been fortunate to have been in the financial services industry for 30 plus years now. I'm a graduate of the University of Northern Iowa. I live here in the Cedar Valley with my 3 adult children who are the joy of my life. Most of my professional career I have spent helping plan sponsors develop and implement 401k plans, allowing people to retire successfully, but also work with individual wealth clients, and have spent over my career a good amount of time with people with some of the things we're going to be talking about today, some of the financial trauma that comes along, and hopefully helping people prepare for it in advance, but certainly get through it when that time comes. So this is a topic that's particularly interesting to me.
Yes, I'm Michele Krueger. I graduated also from the University of Northern Iowa. I've been working in this industry for over 25 years. Very happy to be here, able to share some of my experiences, and that can hopefully help people going forward that might be listening to this and in those types of situations. Being an advisor by far in this industry has been my favorite position, just because I love working with my clients. I never realized how self-fulfilling it would be to be in this position, so I'm very lucky to have this opportunity to be doing this. And yes, going through all these different situations, losing a spouse, how hard that can be, and when your clients really need you in that time to be able to guide them through those difficult situations, decisions they have to make, and just making sure they have someone there that can help them through that. So I realize that this is a very important job that I have, and I want to make sure that my clients trust and they know I can be there for them.
Yeah, so with that, let's kind of get started on that topic, Michele. You're being very humble, by the way. You've had the chance to work with so many amazing clients and done a tremendous job of helping so many families navigate that very difficult time of losing a spouse. How have you been able to kind of keep things on track for them, especially at a very emotional time?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, it's a situation that can be very overwhelming. I've had clients come into my office literally saying, I don't know what to do. My spouse has passed away. They weren't prepared for it. And obviously just going through the grief and everything that they are taking on, and then having to deal with all the realistic financial situations that don't go away. They have to still take care of those. So I think they feel comfortable in being able to know we already have that trusting relationship, hopefully, that they can come in here, sit down with me, and sometimes it does feel like we are counselors in a way, that we are listening to them, and that's absolutely what we are doing. So being able just to tell them it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this together. Being able to guide them step by step through some of those different situations. One of the first things you want to say is don't make any hasty decisions. Pause on major decisions. Make sure that, let's get those first things taken care of, but don't overwhelm yourself with everything that needs to be handled at some point. So it's just being another person they know they can come in and talk to, I think is very helpful.
I just, hearing you list all the things that could possibly need to be looked at, it gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot.
it is a lot. So what are those first steps that you take a spouse through when you get that phone call?
Obviously, you want to hear them out, be very sympathetic, try and understand what they're going through, and be a person of calmness for them too. Being able to go through all those different items, they may be listing off many things too that they're just overwhelmed with. So I think being able to maybe come in, sit down, let's make a list. Let's first itemize what really is the most important things that need to be taken care of right away. So we might look at, their bank accounts, what current bills are out there that they need to make sure, because they're not going away, unfortunately. Make sure those are set up so they can continue to pay those on time, and then kind of start with that. And then also looking, we might touch on, short term versus long term. There's so many things to look at, but I think the biggest thing is just organizing that list. Life insurance policies, of course, probably going to be taking care of funeral expenses with that. So we need to make sure that's been taken care of. And then also making sure too that, do they have family or friends that they can really trust? Making sure they're connected with someone that's also, if they want to come in and talk with me too, absolutely. So they have another set of ears that can hear what this person is really going through, that can also remember some of these things that they'll need to make sure they're taken care of. It's really just about putting that list together, just making sure that they do touch on all of those things, but making it, like you said, not overwhelming, not to get too anxious about this, and being able to say, let's start with this in the short term. These are the things. Let's list out your bills, what you need to make sure continues to be paid, what are your bank accounts looking like, where's that coming from, and your insurance policies are some of the few things I'm going to kind of get on first for them.
I think it's interesting. I think a lot of us can remember, a story where somebody lost a spouse, and that one spouse took care of pretty much all the household items or the bill payments. I think the biggest thing I heard you say is to let them know really that they're not alone in this, and that this is very common. I think that, having the opportunity to reach out to other family members and kind of get a sense of how you would recommend handling some of those things. So one thing you said earlier that kind of gave me some pause really is, hey, make sure you don't make any large, rash decisions. Can you kind of talk through that a little bit? Some things to avoid, maybe some things that you've seen people do that you wish they wouldn't have done after the death of a spouse?
Yep, maybe selling the house. Is that really the first thing they need to be doing? They are worried because they may not have been prepared for all of this, and that could be a big chunk of, if they're still paying a mortgage, that could be a big chunk of where their money is going to go to. So let's sit back and look at, does that really need to be done? Let's bring that all into your payments, everything. Is it really going to be a better situation, benefit you to sell that house? It could be the home they've been in forever. Maybe we can find a way they can hopefully still live there. That's their home, and continue that. So that's one thing. Paying off all their bills, feeling like maybe a truck payment or something that they were taking care of for that spouse, or that spouse is paying on. Do they need to get rid of that? Do they need to keep it? Maybe it's a good idea to, continue paying that for now. And then again, that's something that's not urgent. We need to kind of sit back and wait on. So, and looking at investments too, making sure not withdrawing too much money out of your investments because you feel like you need to pay for these debts and take care of all that right away too. So yeah, there's many different decisions. It's really just kind of going through. I'm okay sitting here with someone, and if they want to talk about everything that's popping into their head, let's do it. Let's write it down, and then we're going to organize and prioritize what really is the most important to take care of.
I think you're really hitting on the importance of having somebody you trust as a financial advisor, someone who's maybe been down this road before and can kind of give them guidance and good counsel in a very, very emotional time. So, Stacie, we're hitting on some pretty heavy topics here, so we'll keep that theme going, okay? What's another potential pitfall that you see for folks financially they may not be prepared for?
Some of the more common financial pitfalls I've seen over the years are divorce, just general budgeting problems, not knowing how much is coming in, how much is going out, which can often lead to debt issues that often go overlooked. And another one that is really pretty common but often gets overlooked is couples who get caught between raising their own family, maybe paying for college, doing all of the things that we're doing as we're raising our own kids, and at the same time, taking care of aging parents and some of the burdens and the not burdens, that's the wrong way to put it, but it definitely can create a drain, not only emotionally, but financially. And so situations like this are not only emotionally exhausting, but they can absolutely take a significant financial toll. Statistically speaking, 40 to 45% of first marriages in the U.S. are likely to end in divorce. Those percentages get even higher with second and third marriages. So it isn't very romantic, but the reality is it is a financial trauma that's likely to affect 2 out of 5 of our listeners. But again, it doesn't have to be all gloom and doom. A common theme I think you'll hear throughout our talk and our examples today is the importance of good information and good communication.
Yeah, I can definitely see the communication piece being paramount. So, these topics at their core obviously they can be uncomfortable to talk about, but as you alluded to, Stacie, they certainly can happen and do happen. So in the example you just gave, how does someone really kind of start taking the necessary steps to come back financially from, let's just say in this example, as a divorce?
I think the first step, it sounds basic, but I think you have to take a minute and just acknowledge the reset, right? Divorce isn't just a breakup. It is very much a financial reset. And when two people share a life, they share income, expenses, goals, even the way they think about money. So when that ends, that's a huge adjustment. It might involve moving to a new home, reworking your budget, figuring out what's important to you, what you can afford, maybe some things you took for granted. And kind of back to Michelle's example in the death of a spouse, just taking a beat and taking a minute to acknowledge that. It's a rebuilding season, not a failure. And it is an opportunity to shift from reaction to really developing your own strategy and maybe getting excited about not so much what's lost, but the things that you can now prioritize and focus on, and getting a really clear picture of your new financial reality.
It's kind of maybe them gaining a little bit of excitement about independence, I can do this on my own. I need a little guidance here, but I think those obstacles they thought were going to be so huge, overcoming those and just feeling like I'm okay, getting to that point, and they will. It's just having someone to kind of help them through those financial obstacles too.
Absolutely. And very, very similar to, again, the death of a spouse is step number one is really take that inventory. Where do you stand today? What are your incomes? What are your expenses? What are your assets? And what are your liabilities? Hopefully, if you've been one of our clients, you've been doing that work all the way along, so none of this should be a surprise. But if not, that's okay. It's a great time to get your arms around it.
Do you find that when clients can see this on paper, but really more for both of you, it kind of stops the overwhelm and becomes something that you can actually, quote unquote, manage? So it's just a matter of maybe getting the right help, maybe working with a qualified advisor. I guess what will be that next step for someone in that particular position? So for listeners that maybe are going through this right now, what's that next first step?
Yeah, I think after inventory, it is budgeting. And again, budgeting isn't something that sounds very exciting, but it is such a critical component to any financial goal or any kind of financial success. You've got to have a clear idea of what's coming in and what's going out. And, I think we all think we know, but it's so easy now with auto pay bills and Venmo and debit cards, and it's very, very easy to have hundreds of dollars a month go unaccounted for because you're just, it's just happening. So really taking the time, digging into your finances and getting an accurate handle on what you have coming in and what you have going out. And then number two is rebuilding that safety net. Divorce can oftentimes drain emergency savings, sometimes completely. So that's got to be the first priority, is rebuilding that 3 to 6 months of living expenses in an easily accessible account. It's not going to happen overnight, but small automatic transfers every month can add up in a hurry. And that cushion is more than just money. It's going to give them peace of mind, and it's going to help to protect you from other challenges in the future, like maybe slipping into debt the next time life throws you a curveball. I think beyond that, it's now, okay, I know what's coming in, I know what's going out, I've got an inventory, I've got my emergency reserves. Now let's reevaluate my long-term goals. Your financial goals might be different than they were as a couple. So maybe retirement is now a solo journey. Maybe kids' education is going to take a little bit of a backseat from where it was. Or maybe your dreams of buying a home or taking a vacation can come front and center. It doesn't all have to be bad. It can be very exciting. So starting to have that conversation, what matters to you most? What can you accomplish in the next 5 years? How can you rebuild your confidence around money? And once you have that clarity, together we can start mapping out a plan and help you achieve those financial goals. And then obviously protecting your future, making sure you've updated all your legal and financial documents, beneficiary designations, insurance policies, estate plans. Make sure your will, retirement account, everything is up to date and is going to the people that you intend it to go to. You not only want to protect yourself, but you also want to avoid future complications for your loved ones. Focusing on your credit and your independence. If divorce had a negative impact on your credit score, you may need to rebuild that by opening accounts in your own name, making sure you're making your payments on time, Keep your balances low. Keep an eye on the credit report and make sure that you are making progress in moving that number in the right direction. And then I think finally, let's be honest. Money after divorce isn't just numbers, it's emotional. You're likely feeling some guilt, anxiety, maybe even fear when you think about your finances, which is completely normal. But remember, your financial identity is not tied to your marriage. It's yours to rebuild and redefine. Many people actually emerge from divorce feeling more empowered because they learn to make confident, independent financial choices for the first time in years.
This is really interesting and more of maybe an observation, just listening to you both talk about two very, very different topics, but how similar they are in terms of what's necessary for the next first step and how you recover. And I'm sure there's lots of different financial setbacks that we can talk about today, but obviously divorce, loss of a spouse. I think what I'm hearing from you guys is that reset and how important that is to create that emotional reset for yourself and to kind of move forward. So guys, this has been really informative, some insight on how you navigate these two particular setbacks and how we can work with advisors to put together a well thought out plan, determining what's really in your control. Do you two have any particular takeaways you want to leave the audience or advice that you can share that they can maybe implement right away for those going through this situation themselves?
Yeah, I would just say it's unfortunate when it happens, obviously, and if someone wasn't prepared, as many of us aren't, maybe to be thinking about these things now. I mean, it's good to have these things in order, be able to tell your kids or whoever your beneficiaries might be, like, this is who you need to contact if this happens. Make sure they're aware of all those names and numbers. And then also just letting people know that it's not just one and done. We're not one meeting and then, okay, everything's great, get it all together. No, we're going to be there for the follow through too. So we're going to update their financial plans. We're going to continue to check on them to make sure that everything is running smoothly after those often, unfortunate things happens too. So
yeah, and I think I would add to that, kind of back where we started, do the preparation now. It's not uncommon in couples that one of them primarily handles the finances, which is absolutely fine. If you're the spouse that isn't as involved, get involved. Not that you need to, micromanage, but have an understanding of where you sit today, what your assets, liabilities, income, expenses are, so that you aren't caught completely off guard. Recovering financially takes time, planning, and patience, but it is entirely possible. And anything that you can do in advance to prepare for it, because in either of these situations, you're dealing with grief. You might be dealing with anxiety, depression. There's a whole lot of really strong emotions that are going to make it hard for you anyway. So if you've got the thought, the planning, the preparation done ahead of time, that can make it just a much smoother road.
Thank you so much for all of your insight. Thank you for being here. Pretty heavy subject today, but one that takes obviously some planning and some thought to really pick yourself up and move forward in a very positive direction. Appreciate you both giving our audience members something to think about and to go through, so maybe some first steps and takeaways to implement. So with that, like always, if you want to learn more, please be sure to check us out at acceladvantage.com or accelwealthmanagement.com and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Please make sure to leave us a review and subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. Lastly, we'd love to have you please share this with anyone that you know could benefit from all the wisdom and knowledge we learned today from Stacie and Michele. Remember, at the Accel Group, we've been helping individuals and businesses protect what matters most to them for 100 years, and that's the Accel Advantage.
This podcast contains general information that may not be suitable for everyone. The information contained herein should not be construed as personalized investment advice. There is no guarantee that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast will come to pass. Investing in the stock market involves gains and losses and may not be suitable for all investors. Information presented herein is subject to change without notice and should not be considered as a solicitation to buy or sell any security. Accel Wealth Management does not offer legal or tax advice. Please consult the appropriate professional regarding your individual circumstance. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Securities offered through registered representatives of Integrity Alliance LLC, member SIPC. Advisory services offered through Accel Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. Integrity Wealth is a marketing name for Integrity Alliance LLC. Accel Wealth Management is not affiliated with Integrity Wealth.